this up so we can start today's training. Okay. Thanks for everyone today. I'm glad that you joined this training. So today, this is the Keikai training, and today we will cover two topics. One is some basic API usage, and another one is to tell you how to build an Excel-based web application, and through some very simple very simple file. Okay, and let's start. First, we need to introduce you about some setup. And here we use a Maven project. So I will base on this project to describe you the setting. And okay, let me check. This is the project we use in our developer reference here. So you can see. Okay, this is our developer reference project, POM file. If you don't use Maven, then sorry but yeah, we strongly recommend you to use Maven to manage your dependency, because then you don't need to hunt the jar file from different repositories. You can just specify the dependency here in this file, and if you set up the good repository, then you will get the jar. The Maven will download jar for you. You don't need to worry about where is the jar. So first, you can check if you want to create a Keikai based application. If you want to start from scratch, I recommend you to base on this POM file that we create in our developer reference. You can copy, or you can just this whole source code is at GitHub, so you can just download or copy or check out. So you can see here the group ID, artifact ID, and important parts here. You need to specify the correct repository. If you are using, try to use our Keikai enterprise evaluations versions, then you need to specify this repository. That is the evaluation repository. Oh, forget to mention about we need to use Java 1.8 because we base on DK 9, so you need to use JDK 1.8 or above. Then the repository here, you need to first, if you want to use the evaluation version, that you need to specify this repository. And if you want to download, you want to use enterprise version, which requires license and it's pay customer, you need to specify these two repositories, one for Keikai EE and one for ZK EE. Yeah, because the Keikai is based on the ZK. And if you want to use Keikai OSC, which is open source edition, you need to specify these repository. And OSC is a light version of Keikai. It contains limit features, which is a subset. Its feature is a subset of Keikai Enterprise Edition. So, but it's free, so you can try this. And surely we strongly recommend you try the enterprise evaluation version. It contains all the features that described in our document. Okay, and the next one is the dependency. The most important dependency is this one, the Keikai EX. Okay, so you just specify these. Basically, you just need to specify this dependency, and all is done. Yeah, it will include all the transitive dependencies by Maven, and it will get all requires, and all the others are just add-ons. If you don't use JSP, then you don't need this. If you don't need PDF, then you don't need the list dependency. If you don't use JSF, then you don't need these dependencies. And all the others are optionals. It depends on your project need, like Spring or JSF. So all these other dependencies are optionals for you according to your project need. So the most important dependency is this. Just include this, and everything is done. Okay. Okay, then let's go back to the next one. First, we introduce you the very simple example, just to how to export, how to import an Excel file. Now, we now support XLSX file format, and so it's very easy. If you want to import a file, you can just use the rule and specify source attribute. So first example here, let's see our first example here. You can see this is things you know, all you know ZK, so I don't introduce too much. But you can see this is the spreadsheet tag, so which represent the Keikai components. And there's a namespace, XML namespace. I strongly recommend you to put this declaration here. Because the spreadsheet has the different attributes other than other ZK components. So if you put this XML namespace, you will give you some attribute content assistant for attributes and work completion here. So you don't need to remember all the attributes for the spreadsheet. So it's very convenient. So I strongly recommend you to add this namespace here. If you are using IntelliJ, when you apply this namespace, you remember to click here. There's a fetch external resource and click here. Then you will fetch this resource from this URL and to your local computer. So it will just correctly show this content assist for you. Okay, so in here, in the first example, here, if you want to import a file, you just need to specify like this, specifies path. So for this is a bit complicated because I want to add more parameters here. But here is the most the simplest example just specifies source SRC attributes. So let's already run the developer reference project. So let's see the project localhost SRC rule. So you can see, oh, okay. So let's, well, oh, so I should run the Tomcat one. Okay, it's better. Oh, not yet started. Okay. So because of sharing, it takes a bit longer. Okay. So the first way to import file just to specify this SRC and other attributes you can check here. Here is the max visible rows because you can specify the rows that show visible on the screen. What happened? Because let me check the first. Okay, SRC. Oh, okay. Here is import SRC. Okay, so you can see if you just specify the source path, then you can easily import a file. And where is the file? You can see is under my projects main web info books. There's a star Z. So you can see this is the original file here. Yeah. Yeah, it looks just very similar after we import. Okay, so in the next version, we will support the tab colors like this one, and we will also import the same colors, these charts, in the next one. In the next version 5.2.0. So this is the first way that you can import a file. And so let's see another way. If you want to, this is the way you import the file, then you can just edit like this in like a normal Excel. You just import as an online editor. So you can change numbers here. You can change formulas here, like you want this one. You can copy, paste here, and even use the toolbar here. So it's just like it's an online editor. So, but if you want to make some kind of report, for example, if this file, I want to make it as a report, I don't want the user to modify it. So it's very easy. You can just use this protect sheet and just press OK. And now it's safe. Now it's protected. So, and because I want to make it as the report, so I don't want user to modify it. So I can turn off the context menu. I can turn off the toolbar, and maybe if I just want to show the first sheet, for example, the other sheet I don't want user to see, so I can turn off the sheet bar, the sheet context menu, remove it. By default, it's hiding, and I can even remove the formula bar. Okay, and then reload this page. So it becomes read only, and it's so you can see I can still select, but I cannot edit a cell. I don't have a toolbar. I don't have context menu. I don't have sheet tabs to change to another sheet. So this becomes just a report-like page. But I can even make it more like a report. For example, I can hide the row head. I can also hide the column head. So it will more like a web page just by changing the attributes. So you can see it's just like a web page. If I disable the cell selection, then it's just even more like a read-only things. So and now there is still a scroll bar. So if I don't want this scroll bar, I can make the visible column more smaller. For example, like this or like this. Uh, and reload the page. So is no horizontal scroll bar to scroll. So just like a report. So you can show your Excel report like this way. So you would just like a normal web page, but it's totally made by your Excel. So it's very convenient in this way. Okay. And another way is to import the file is by, sometimes your file does not exist in your server. Maybe you need to get from another place, from another repositories. So this time you need to use the API to import. For example, in this way, we see another example. We use an importer composer. So in do have to compose, okay, here, let's see. It's very easy to import. For example, you can get imported by imports get import. That is imported. And the import will import a file, and the get file will get a file for me. And in this example, I just get the same file, but actually you can get another file maybe on somewhere in your, you can uh, send a request to a third-party service, or you can get somewhere in your database, or you can get somewhere in your repository, then just return a file to this. Or actually we have another import. We can import URL, import file, input string, something like this. So you can have 3 different kinds of imports. So you can actually import a file from somewhere dynamically. And after import, you'll get a book model. This is a book model that convert by your file. So every time you import an Excel file, it's actually converted into a book model. And this book model, you need to assign it to a spreadsheet components. If you don't assign it, you still can manipulate this book model to change its data, its cells. So it's another kind of usage. That means you don't need to render. That's the case when you don't want to render to a browser. Then you don't need to assign to a spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet. When you assign it, it will be rendered to the client side. But if you don't assign this book, you can still use our API to manipulate the cells inside this book and then export to Excel file. And that's kind of data processing. We call data processing use case. So it doesn't have to just pure data accessing. But now here we need to render to a browser. So I set this book to a spreadsheet, and then it will render to our browser. So we can see this example here. Okay, so it will show the same file here. You can see, yeah. Shortly, another way to dynamically import file is just to set src. We have a src attribute. So if you're using spreadsheet, you know, you're using, ZK, you know every attribute we have a API, so you can set src like this. So you can, maybe there's a flag, you can check either load this A file or load B file. So in that case, you cannot specify a fixed path in your component. So you can load like this by Java API. So there are two, by loading by API, there are two ways. One is using importers. Another way is by using set src. Okay. And okay, let's go back to our to my slides. Okay, the next topics we are talking about interact with the database. Okay, there are two ways to interact with the database. One, first way is you import the whole file and export the whole file. So you will export the XLSX file into your database. So it will be, the benefits is the all information of this book model can be exported to this file. So you can store the file in the BLOB, the binary large object field in a table of the database. So every all information is kept in this file. And after that, you can import the BLOB object back into our Keikai, and then you can restore all information. But the drawback is you cannot query a binary file. So you must store some metadata by yourself. For example, the author, the date, the version, something like this, into your database so you can query. But this is a way that you can store the all information into it. Okay. So let's check how to export, since we already mentioned the import. So let's see. There's a export example. Export here is an export. And we also have a API to export file, for example, like this file. Okay, we can type something. Oh, now it's protected because I just protected, and I can unprotect it, and again load it again. So test, and I can export to Excel. So when I click export, it will call export and do some export. Okay, and we can open this file. So you can see this file is to contain the test here. Okay, So this is export. And how do we export a file? We can check here. Export rule. Export composer. So you can see here. Okay. The export is also simple. You just get the exporter. Get the exporter. And the exporter, you need to create. This is one way how you create a temp file here, and you export and turn a temp file into a file output stream, and then you call export. And remember, there's a book. And how to get book to get spreadsheet get book, because what we export is the book model, is the data model, not the component. So component just here, it's just like a container. It contains your book model and renders. So I get the book model and export the book model into this file stream, and then I make get a name and let user download from a browser. Okay, so this is a simple example from download. Okay, from exporting. Okay, then let's go back to the next example. This is the first way to interact with the database. The second way to interact with the database is the populate, store, sell from your database. You can extract some partial data. For example, you can, usually there's a template file which contains maybe a blank sheet with headers only, and there is a table in your database, and you want to populate data from database. So you can populate data with our API, I will mention later, into cells. Or when user type something, input something, then you need to store data, the data only, not the background color, not the format. So you can use our range API to extract cell data or formulas you need and insert into corresponding data table. That these logic, populating and storing, you need to implement by yourself. The Keikai doesn't provide it because we just provide API because we don't know which table you want to store and we don't know which area you concern. So conceptually, it's just like this. You will need to implement your controller and you use the range API getter and setter. You get sales value from Keikai and you insert into database. Or you query some data by yourself from database and you use our range setter and set into Keikai. Okay. Then let's see an example. I'll show you a very simple example that just simulate we load data from the database and save the data back. Okay. And before this, we need to know what is the range API. Okay, the range API is the main API that you will use largely in your Keikai-based application. The range means a range. Yeah, could be a book, a sheet, a row, a cell, or multiple cell. So you can use the factory-like API like this range.range and get book. So this range represent a book. And these range represent the current selected sheet. So every operation you want to do, for example, you want to get sale data, set sale data, you need to create a range that represent a range of cells. For example, I want to insert rows. I can say this is A1, but I call 2-row range, so it will become the first row. Now the range becomes, it represents the first row. If I want to set some values to a cells, this is row index and column index is 0 base, so 0 means first row. Okay, and the column means 0 means the column A. So here, so you need to know here is one cells. And if you want to set something to a multiple cell, you can use these two. One is just like here in Excel, A1 colon B4, or you can use these kind of API. So this is the star row index, star column index, the last row index and last column index, something like this. That will give you this. It will create a range object that you can use. Then you can call some API. Okay. Okay, then let's show you a database example in our developer reference. Let's see. Okay, so this is our the very simple example about accessing database. So the user just can edit these cells, 1, 2, 3, and we can save it back, something like this. Okay, I set a block, a breakpoint. I stop it. Okay, so this is saved to the database, so you can see. Oh, it doesn't save. So it contains some bugs. Maybe because I changed something from the yesterday. Okay, so I will find out the bugs. Yeah, so you can see if I change something, save, and I can load it back. And on the right-hand side is just represent, it's a fake database simulated. And on the left-hand side is a spreadsheet. So you can see just uh, hide those UIs because I don't want user to change. And so I can implement the save database and load database. Okay. In this example, let me check. Okay, so this is the example here. It looks like complicated, but actually just a spreadsheet here and agreed here. So agree on right hand side and the spreadsheet on the left hand side. Okay, so in this example, we just implement a very simple example that you can edit and save. And let's check the source database composer here. So in these examples, we assume you already have a data service that will save the data into your database. So that we don't care. This is how you need to implement by use in your project, and it's case by case. And in this example, we save the domain objects, the trade records. So it's just kind of trade records, a trade database. And here, if we want to load something from the database, first we need to, here we have in the do after compose, we reload the database. So first we will load a template. So in this example, it's a very basic use case. Then you use a template, and this template we call trade template. So you can see its original file look like this. It just contained some format and filters, headers, and all things are blank. So we load this file, and then we query the database to get a map of trade records, and we load it from the data object to our role. So we use, and so for each trade, we get its field, and we set to call the set cell value. So we need to get the range. The range is like this. This is the sheet, and the sheet is selected sheet. A selected sheet is the currently visible sheet like this, because we have only one sheet and we select this sheet. So this is the selected sheet, just like the sheet you see. So the sheet and the row index and the column index. And the row index we passed from uh, the master. And the column index is fixed because we know our layout. There are the first one, the ID and product, sales, person, sales. So usually you will already know your template. So we already set the column index here. Okay. So we first, this is the sales that we get a range that represent the cell in here in the first column here, so A2. So this is the API. You get A2 and you set cell value. So it's very simple. And the cell value could be a object. The object could be string or number, date, or Boolean. That's all the object type we support in Excel. So we set the ID here, set the type here, and set cell value, this per person and the cells here. So this is the way that you need to fill a Java object and all its properties into a cell, cell by cell. You get range and call setter. And then we check how we extract it. Here, when we click save, we extract all trade here. So when every time I type something, I click save, I will extract all trade. I mean, that means we will extract the cell data one by one, cell by cell, row by row, and to construct our trade object. So we start from row one and to the last row, and we extract. How do we extract this? It's very similar. We just still also new a thread, but we need to get the ID, the cell for ID, and we get cell data. We get double value and turn it into int. Or we can get cell edit text. What is the cell edit text means is the cells, the text you type into a cell before applying some format. So because Excel has a format. For example, you can have 1,000 separator. So you might type 1,000, but actually it display 1,000. Okay, but if you get cell text, cell edit text, it will just return you 1,000. It doesn't contain the comma. So if you want the original, the row text, you need to call get cell edit text. And if you want string, there's another way you can get string value, get cell data, get string value. If it's just a text, then these two API will return the same value. And if you want number, you can just get cell data, get double value. So there are 4 different kinds of API, like you can get a date value, double value, or get Boolean value. Okay. Or get format text. That means you get the text after the format pattern applied. So if you enter 1,000 and you apply a format to have 1,000 separator, then you will get 1,000, something like this. So it depends on your requirement. You can get different kind of data here. It's coming in. So by getting cells by cells, we get the value and we set, we call the setter to set into a trade. So we get a trade object. That's how we get the trade. And after we construct all these rows into a list of trade, we just save it into database. So this is the second way you can interact with your database. Just use the setter and getter. Okay. And another example we show you is is a spreadsheet-driven application. We will use a budget-like application. And in this application is like this, is because there are many many scenarios or many businesses are run by Excel. So usually we'll already have Excel file that is operated by your current workflow or your current business relied on it. So you already something, this Excel usually designed by user, by different departments, maybe by finance person or by the human resource or by accounting person. So they will design a template and they are good at designing such template or Excel. And then we can import into Keikai and make it like a web page. So I can show you the budget app. It's the use case. Oh, not demo. Here, the database. Okay, I need to start another one. This is the template. Okay, this is a template that designed by it's a budget expense summary. So you can see the all data are 0. This is the first sheet and the second sheet. The first sheet is just like a summary, just as a report. And the second sheet that's allow user to enter something here, to enter some new expense here. And if you user click down, then you will add, we will scan these cells and add these new expense into database and then show in this summaries and updated summary. So here we will try to, first we will protect these sheets because we don't want user to, I want user to allow them to just enter in these cells in this range. Okay. Okay, so must be catch. So in this example, after we load this page, you can see a summary by loading a template, and the controller will insert the data here. And if I click add my new expense here, it will switch to another sheet. And because you don't see the sheet tab, so you don't know, but actually switch to the second sheet, and you can enter something like categories, enter some lodging, maybe it's 5s and 200s. So you can enter here in this areas. To make things simple, we just allow these areas to be editable and others just read only. So, and we clicked done, then this will we will scan these areas and get these quantity, cost, subtotal, and add save into database, and then we'll query the database again and update the file here. So it's not so obvious. Maybe I add too less, maybe you add too much. We add more, for example, 100, we click down. So you can see here, it's 113, and this chart is also update. So this is just a very basic application. So And you can see if we want to make this more like an application, so we can do like we can hide our toolbar. You can see we hide our toolbar, we hide the sheet tab, we even hide the green line here. We hide the row header and column headers to make it more like a web page. So this is what you can do to make it more like a normal web page. And uh, that's this first you can do. And then you can do some user input data validation without writing code. You can rely on Excel. So first we unlock it and we can see there is a data validation here. I set the validation here to make it, it must be greater than 0. It must be number. I also set the same validation here. It must be a decimal greater than number. So if I try to type something, not a number, for example, I try to A, so you can see it will pop up, please input a positive integers like this. Keikai will load this setting in Excel file. And so if you add a data validation, we'll follow the rules. So like this, you also show the same. So until I type a valid value here, so this is one. And how do we open the limit area of for edit? Here you can see if you set format cell here, you can see there is a protection, and we can unlock this to make it. Oh, sorry, I should only unlock this area. Okay, format cell. So you can see this area from A4 to D7 is unlocked. That means locked is unchecked. So under these settings, if I protect the sheets, I enable protection, then only all other areas are protected, but only this area is editable. So you can see if I edit other cells, you will show a warning. So this setting will also be loaded in Keikai. So that's why when you see this page, this sheet, you can see I cannot edit these cells. When you edit cells other than this area, uh, so this you can edit here, but other cells you cannot edit. We will also show you something errors or alert, you cannot edit protected cells. So this how you can do to limit editable areas and to enable protection. And this protection can also be enabled by Java API. So you can see here in this budget composer, you can see we have actually, because there are 14 different as permissions. If you enable the protection, you can see here, when I enable, there are other 14 different permission you can choose. So there are many parameters. We built protection builder API. You can see sheet protection builder create, and you can say with select cell allow true or with allow filter true and build. So we can easily build a sheet protection here, allow select. And then you can enable the protect sheet by arrange of sheet and call protect sheet and pass this allow select. So that's the first one. And when you load the first sheet, I will enable dynamically here and only allow select. So if you don't allow select, then you cannot even select cells in the sheet. So that's what you can do. And the page navigation in web application usually will do page navigation, but in this Keikai or Excel-based application, you can navigate user by just select sheet. So you can see if someone click add my new expense, this button, I will just switch to a new sheet, which is the second sheet. And if someone click down, And you can see I just switch back to the summary. So that's, and you cannot see the sheet tab here. That means user cannot kind of select sheet arbitrarily by himself. So it's controlled by me. So you can see I click add new expense, it will switch me to another sheet. So you can create multiple sheets, maybe 10 sheets or 20 sheets that you just change sheets, switching sheets, so you can navigate users easily. So this is another way that you can use Excel to build your web application easily. So even by switching import a different file, you can just switch to another set of page. Okay, so this is another way you can build web-based application. Okay, and then the next one is um, some other common usage, for example, like cut, copy, paste, because sometimes if you load a template sheet, the easy way to replicate some cells is just copy the cell instead of create cell by yourself. So you can see here we have a simple API. So in the cut, copy, paste, you can very easily, for example, you want to copy cells from one sheet to another sheet. For example, first you need to create range object by this select sheet, and you get selection. That's mean your selection box. Okay, you get selection will return you an area of my focus. For example, if I select this, and get selection will give me this cell. If I select full cell, then get selection will return me the full cell. So this is easy way to get what users select by this API. And then you get another sheet with the same area, for example, A1, B2. So you will get the second sheet, A1, B2. So it's a source and destination. And we provide a cell operation utility. It's very easy. So you just call cut. That means you cut a range from source to destination, or just copy, you just call paste from source to destination. Okay, and we also have other like pass formula, pass value, pass transport, something like this. So you can use it depending on your need. And actually, these operation utility is just a wrapper of a range API. So you can also do it by range API. Yeah, it's a low level. And another example, common API you will use is to get cell style. For example, you might need to know, is this cell is red, or it's a blue, or it's alignment. So we separate the the data and the style. So you can get cell data to get the data like this text, is value, is number. But if you want to know what is the style, you need to get another object that we call get cell style. Then you will get a cell style. Then the cell style you can get its alignment, get its border, and get some background color or get form. So they are very various API here. And in order to change the style, maybe sometimes you have business needs, you need to change the button from maybe from blue to red, something like this. And we also provide a cell operation utility methods, so you can apply alignment, apply the borders, how you can do. Okay, but you can also use range API to change the style, but be careful. We suggest you to use cell operation utility because it will reuse the cell style. Because in Excel, one cell style could apply or could associate with multiple values. So you cannot directly, if you want to modify a cell style, you cannot directly change by setters. You need to clone the cell style in the set new value in clone cell style. Or you might accidentally change other cells sales style. Yeah, just like say, because the sales style might associate with multiple sales. So if you just want change one sale, but you don't know how many sales one sales style is associated. So it's usually we don't change the sales style object directly. We need to clone it and change it. So it's better you use the sale operation utility because it do these steps for you, and but you can still do it by yourself with this process. Okay, then let's go back to my slide. So we are just know about the just introduce you about the cut, copy, paste, and sale and change the styles. So we suggest you use sale operation utility first. If there's no proper methods in this class, then you just call the range API by you. And all the source code you can find today in today's trainings, you can find it in here. It's a GitHub developer reference or Keikai tutorial. So you can see here, this is very completed example. You can, if you want to try, you can just run it. If you already have Maven, that's fine, that's great. You can run it. If you don't have Maven, we also have a wrapper so you can run without Maven. It will automatically download Maven for you. So, and we quickly show you about the current demo. Um, okay, this is the demo you already seen. That the first demo here is the Excel-like. It will just show you how you can build an online web application like Excel. So you can see here, but the toolbar, the menu bar is not included in the component. It's we implement by ZK menu. So it's just like a normal web application, like an online Excel editor. And the work with database you have already seen, and the integration shows how it's very easy to integrate with other ZK components like charts, like Gmap. So you can write a controller, so you can see when I click California, you jump to California. If I change the number here, so you can see if I change the number here, 120, this is the green part, and if I change to 1, you can see it becomes smaller because the chart is rendered based on these numbers. Okay, so there's user permission. You can also check. We provide API to let you build your mechanism, your authentication authorization mechanism, because we don't, it's impossible to build a general authorization mechanism for all companies. So you can see here, we provide several API to let you control the UI. So you can see in the owner, you can do everything. In the editor, you can see we cannot do some sheet operation here. So it's all great. And the viewer, you can see we don't have toolbar, we don't have context menu, we cannot edit anything. So this is a small example that shows how you can use our API to implement a user permission. And the workflow, just like we use the several sheets to implement a simple workflow. So you can, for example, enter into an employee. As an employee, you can fill a leave application form like this and submit this form. And then you can enter with a supervisor to approve or reject this form, just submit, and maybe approve here. Okay, then so this is very this workflow just implemented by several Excel sheets. Okay, so it's very simple to create something like this. And we also have a collaboration edit mode. Like you can see when I type name here, you can immediately see the name in another spreadsheet. So actually you can see this is two browser image. We just put it in the same page to show it easily, but you can run with, you can imagine that there are two person that using their own browsers to visit the same page, but they are editing the same file. So if someone edit here, you can see the others will immediately see the result. So this we call the collaboration edit mode. You don't need to send your file back and forth. And we surely support lots of formulas. You can import your file to trial. And you can see here, there are lots of formulas, cells here. Okay. So this is the formula syntax is the same as you use in Excel. And the data validation, I've also shown you, you can set up the validation so you'll show up drop downs, or the data validation can also comes from another sheet. This at least actually comes from another sheet. There's another sheet that contains the list. So you can change here and use the VLOOKUP to change the number here, and you can even type, for example, you can say, please enter discount no greater than 5%. So, okay, this is also another example of validation. So you can immediately use just to set up in Excel, no need to program. And the filters, we also support. So we support lots of different filters like date filter or the number filters, or even the color filter here. You can filter by colors. And this is we call conditional formatting. You will format your cells according to the value. So if I change the value to very small one, you can see we'll change the color. Or if I change to a very large numbers, this is we call conditional formatting. And we also have the feature to external reference to another file. So in this example, there are actually two files. One is profile, one is resume. And this is a formula. It reference to another file. So you can see Emily. If I change the Emily to, for example, to John, and you can see it change accordingly because it's not a static text. It's a formula reference to another sheet. So sure, you need to import these two files and make a book series so the Keikai will know there are two files you can reference. So we support lots of different Excel features. So you can check one by one here, charts and double borders. So there are many. So, okay. So do you have any question? Oh, participant. Hello, the Stacy. Okay, someone asks, security and role and says how this is managed. Okay, let me introduce more about this demo about security user permission. Oh, another question is full Excel function. Okay, I will mention later. You can see here we provide several kind of API. Let me show you. Um, we support the set visible show. The first kind of API we can set show toolbar to true or false. So you can disable it or show it by this API. And we can disable some action like rename sheet. Uh, So there are lots of action you can disable. And the third kind of API is to protect. The protect sheets I just show you, you can enable the protection by protect sheet. One way, just call it protect sheet, or you can enable in Excel, but it's not dynamically. So uh, first you need to implement your uh, role access control by yourself. Because we don't know what kind of role, how many roles you have. So those roles defined by your system, you need to implement by yourself. But we provide these kind of API to let you, you need to choose what kind of roles has what kind of permission. So first you need to define, in the example, we define 3 roles: editor, viewer, and owner. So we uh, decide editors to have what kind of permission, then we call the corresponding API to uh, implement his permissions. So that's how you can do in the in our with our API. So this is how I implement this authority service, and this you will you just have a set of setting to know if you are owner that I enable all permissions for you by using this API. If you are editor, I enable another set of permission for you by just calling this API. So you can check detail later. And someone asks, does Keikai support for Excel function? Yeah, there are no the function list here. You can see. Okay. The OIC and EE have support different set of function. Surely there are still some function that we don't support. That, for example, there are function about database that we don't support, and there are maybe some very new function that we might not support. So you can check this to find a wide list that the function we support. Okay. And is there other questions? Can we also hide certain type of data like sheet based on role also? Uh, do you mean you want to hide some sheets? For sure, yes, you can. There is a hide API to hide a sheet, or you can just hide a sheet. For example, I can just click here. I can hide sheet here. Then this sheet will disappear when you import this file, so it doesn't appear. If you uh, and surely you need to disable the unhide action, or user can or you just disable the whole sheet tab context menu. Okay, so because when you hide a sheet, user can click the unhide to unhide a sheet. So if you want to hide a sheet and don't allow user to unhide it, so you can first you just hide a sheet in Excel, or you can call a Java API to hide a sheet, and then you need to disable the UI, these actions, unhide actions, or just disable the whole context, the sheet tab context, to avoid user unhiding the sheet you hide. Okay, so that's does I do I answer your question, Raja? Is there any size limit to handle data? Any size limit? Size, do you mean the sheet size? How does it handle big data or multi-user change? Not sure I understand using bigger. Mm, yes, because it depends on, theoretically, it doesn't have, it has the limit like Excel. So you can see a vacuum here is a max, there's a max row, the max row and columns, just like here. max row, max column, max row. But it will, if you really use such big file, it will consume lots of memory. So you need to prepare lots of memories in your server. So we can load it, but if you don't have sufficient memories, it will also break. And yeah, so it still depends on your server's memories. So is there, okay. Um, is there any other questions? Or you can unmute your microphone. It's okay. And anything be said about the price? Okay. Let me. Coming from the case spreadsheet. Someone try to. If you you have ever used try to pass from the, okay, it's very easy. You can see our documentation. There is a migrate from ZK spreadsheet. Because the Keikai is based on ZK spreadsheet, so it's very uh, easy to migrate from it. So there are just several key points you need to know. First, you need to replace the jar here. Just replace the jar from ZK spreadsheet to Keikai. And if you are Maven user, that even very simple, you just change the setting in POM, and then you need to replace your replace your API, because but it's just a package change, so it's very easy. You just remove those old import statement and use the new import statement. Usually your IDE will have some hotkey or shortcut to easily import those, because we don't change methods. So if in old case, if you have a method like call set values, and we also call set value in Keikai, but the package name is different. So just remove those ZK spreadsheet import statement and use the shortcut key to import, like IntelliJ they have. So it's very easy. They will auto import for you. And if you are using, you have license, you need to change the license path, and there are some features, minor change. So like this one and this one, custom function, prefix change. And if you have applied some CSS or JavaScript customization that might be invalid after migrating to Keikai, so you need to recheck or rewrite it. And there are some deprecation methods already removed, so you also need to be to notice. But if you're using, because it's Java, so I think it will notify you. Yeah. So we have a complete migration guideline, so you can check. ZK7, you need to pass on Java 8 to migrate. Yes, if you use Keikai, we suggest you to use ZK9, and ZK9 needs Java 8. Yeah, you also work with ZK A05 or A5, but okay. So you can also use, if you don't want to upgrade to the latest file, you can also use ZK8. ZK8. Is there any other question? Okay, 8. Does we need to consider any configuration for either big file or UTF-8? No, I don't think so. You mean you have a in your Excel file it contains some Chinese character? Oh yeah, we can display Chinese character in Excel file correctly. So I think there's no problem. I can show you I can show you by running the Okay, so you can see here, if you type some Chinese characters in the cells, you can correctly display it. Is Keikai simple multi-language displaying labels, and also can we display custom labels? Custom labels. What kind of custom labels you mean? You can type text inside or headers. No, we don't support custom headers. The headers now must be ABCD 1, 2, 3, 4. Currently there's no way to change the headers into other characters other than ABCD. ZK spreadsheet has separate license. Yes, ZK spreadsheet is a separate license from ZK. Toolbar? Oh, or do you mean using a different toolbar? Toolbar, we don't. In toolbar, I haven't tried, but toolbar we usually use icon. So you can, if you you can create an icon with other, for example, other text. I think it's okay because just an image. So Raha, maybe you can, Raja, you can send us your, because I'm not sure what my understanding is correct or not. Maybe you can send me your image or some picture or screenshots. You can tell more detail about your idea, because I'm not sure what you mean about headers. Maybe it's a toolbar or something. Okay, thank you. Okay, I think the time is okay. Someone next. The last question is on importing Excel file. Is it possible to limit the amount of row that should be imported? Um, no, currently there is no way to limit amount of rows, but you can just set the visible rows. For example, you can, if you just want 100 rows, you have 200 rows, but you want to show 100 rows, you can set maximum visible row to 100. But we will still import the 200 rows when importing. So if you really want, so it's better to process your file to cut it smaller before importing. From Yannick. Okay. So thank you everyone, and that's ended this training for now. Thank you. Oh.